Today I'm going to show you how to make a book like this, kinda sorta, because we're just going to make it up as we go. This started out its life as a box of coffee pods, which looks a little bit like this. This is a Walmart brand coffee box thing that I'm going to use. This one I think was Aldi, so yeah, you don't need anything fancy. And probably the cheaper and plainer the better, I don't know. But here's what it started out looking like, and then here's what it ended up looking like. And I just decorated this whole thing with some eco prints that I had on hand, so I encourage you to use whatever you have on hand. Doesn't have to be eco prints. You can use your painty papers, I think would be cool. You can use scrapbook pages. I would recommend something kind of thin bodied. You know, you may need a few thicker pieces here and there depending on what you decide to do, but just for covering you need like text weight papers. So this is how this looks, and there were some alterations that I made. This first flap, I think I had cut it off intending to make a pocket or something, and then changed my mind, so built another extension. You know, it was a learning process. I made these kind of flappy duty things, and just, you know, these pieces were already here, and I attached this is where I used a thicker kind of cardstock weight paper. So if you want something like this, or some tags or inserts or whatever, you know, thicker paper would be good there. And then these tags, and these, I didn't do anything to any of this. This is all how the eco prints turned out. And some of them are very not eco-printy. You know, you just get the color or the pattern, or you get like the plant goo on there. If you eco-print, you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you get beautiful prints, and sometimes you don't get a print, but you get interestingness. And I'll put a link to here and here somewhere. You will find a link to an eco-printing video. So if you're not familiar with that, you can see how it's done. These are just two plain tags I stuck in here. The flap underneath that looked kind of like this, and this one I just made a little tuck spot like so. And then these two flaps were just kind of, they were shaped like this already. I didn't have to add anything to it. I cut off the little pointy part of this one and cut a slot in there just to make a little, I don't even know what you call that, but I made it. And then you open it up, and then here's this little card. So this is eventually going to find its way onto Etsy when I get around to, you know, taking pictures. And oh, seriously, I hate that. This is why more of my stuff doesn't go on either my website or my Etsy shop. It has nothing to do with, oh, I don't want to sell it. It's more of the, oh, I don't want to take the pictures and then upload everything and then come up with a description and then fill out all this stuff. That is what keeps me from getting rid of things. So if I ever show something and you want it, and you send me an email and say, hey, I'll make you an offer on that, chances are I'm going to say okay, because it saves me the trouble of having to put up a listing, and I've got so much of this around my house, it needs to go. Yeah, it needs to live at someone else's house. So that's what I did here. This is some coffee dyed muslin that I ended up putting here. This was not a planned part of my design. This was, oh my gosh, I screwed up. I gotta fix it. And actually, I think it looks okay, fortunately. So I used the same thing. It's just a little wraparound closure. This is a paper bead made from some eco-printed papers. And I put a big grommet in right there to kind of close the thing, like so. And it functions pretty well. And, you know, there are some things I would do differently. This was my first one. So I'm going to, on this one that we make today, I'm going to make some of those changes and see if they even make a difference. But, yeah, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Now, these I showed in another video. You know, I've got a couple others. This was also an Aldi, same kind of coffee pod box that I had just used to wipe off my paintbrushes. This is the Debbie's DIY clay-based paint, and I just wiped the excess paint off my brush onto here before I clean my brushes. And I think that's going to make a really pretty kind of, you know, mixed media painty book. And then this one, this is the one that first inspired me, because this is the Walmart brand box, and it had these little slits already cut in it. And I thought, oh, I can just run like a ribbon or something through there for a closure and just make that into a journal. This is kind of what gave me the idea. So I haven't even finished that out yet, but my plan is to glue that down, and then, I don't know, I might glue that down or make a pocket or a, I don't know, maybe use the slots that are already here to do some kind of binding for some pages, maybe. Yeah, I'm still thinking about that. But today we're going to do this one. We're going to start with this box, and this is the 12 count size, and this is what we buy so that, you know, we can have a variety of flavors and all. I have a separate little organizer that I put my coffee pods in, so I don't need the box. I don't open the box the way it was intended. You know, it's got the little thing right here where you're supposed to pull this back so you can open it up and get the pods out. I never do that. I just completely open the box, pull the pods out, put them in my organizer, and then my city recycling people, they like you to flatten all your boxes because it just makes it easier for them. So that's why I just automatically just flatten these out and then lay them in the recycle bin. So that's how, you know, I noticed these little things, these little cutouts here, and it gave me the idea to make a little book out of it. So first thing I want to do is pull off these, it's got these like glue blobs, and they peel off, you know, I mean, they don't just peel off easily, but you can get them off. I don't want any bulk or bumps in my book. These don't peel off as easy as the Aldi ones. The Aldi ones just came right off. So, oh yeah, see, this is what I was expecting it to do, and it didn't do that. And I can go through and just peel the cardboard like this, but that's going to work against me if I peel this off, because on the other book, I just peeled this entire cover off so that I wouldn't have to fight any of this in the background. I didn't want it showing through my papers. And if I decide to paint on it, you know, this is slick. It might be difficult to paint, but I can't really peel both sides. There'll be nothing left. So, yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, so maybe we'll just leave these since they're not really that awful. On the Aldi box, the Aldi brand, they're kind of bulky and they peel off really easy. So that wasn't a big deal. So yeah, now I want to go through and just peel off this top layer of print. And this is optional. Well, you know, I have to get this right up in my face because I can't see. You don't have to do this. You can gesso it if you want, or you can just leave it, and you know, if it shows through, just make it part of your design, whatever. But this is not difficult to do if you want to peel off the paper. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to peel off just, you know, as much of this as I can anyway, just to make it a little easier and give us a nice plain surface to start with. Okay, here's one thing that I did not do on the other one that I wish I had. And it may not be necessary depending on how you decorate and how you plan to use your little book. But I had trouble, clearly, with my folds. And the reason that I had trouble, I had a couple of reasons, but one was because this is kind of fat in here. This was a little bit more fatter than I thought it would be because, you know, it had the cardboard, which was pretty thin after I peeled it, but then I layered papers on both sides. And they were just, you know, text weight papers, but they still added some bulk once you get the glue in there. And these, of course, were more of a cardstock weight that I lined with more text weight paper. So I created more bulk than I was thinking that I would, which caused me some problems folding over flat. Oh, that got kind of in my fold, so yeah. But it's getting really bulky in here, especially right here, because I've got all these layers that I'm trying to fold over, and then right here. So I really wished that I had made my little seam areas wider to accommodate for more bulk. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that with this one, even not knowing how bulky it's going to be. Let's just take care of that from the get-go. Because, yeah, it's easier to do now than halfway through when you've already started decorating. So, all I need to do is, okay, this is how I want my books, how my other one was, and I liked it. This is going to probably be my closing flap, and depending on how fat my book gets, I might have to extend that. I did on my other one. I just need to leave this out so that I can refer back to it. But it had kind of the same kind of size and shape flap over here. See right there? That was the original flap. I needed it longer. So I put a piece of cardstock on there to make it longer so that it would wrap around more and not end right there because it just looked ridiculous. So yeah. You have to make little alterations as you go, so hold your plan loosely. And I'm going to go ahead and make these foldy areas bigger. Lost my words again, but okay, you know what I'm talking about. So, all you need to do to make that happen is just to kind of score a line on either side of it. Or even just one side, but I'm going to go either side. I'm going to score a line on either side of the score that's already there to make it a wider spine. We'll just call them little spines for lack of a better term. And then I may have to make this a little more narrow so that it's not over into the spine. So you can do this just with a straight edge and a bone folder, or you can use a scoring board, just whatever you like to use to score lines. That's what you'll do. Let's move in a little bit. I'll show you a couple of them. And I'm not even going to measure. I'm just going to eyeball it. And that looks, I don't know, probably good. If you can see, yeah, that's about right. So I'll score right there. And crease my new score line. And now I want to do the same thing on the other side of my original score line. And again, I'm just eyeballing it. You can measure if you want. I don't want, so I'm not measuring. Score that, and then crease my new score line. Okay, so now I've got a little bit wider area, wider fold over area right here in case this gets bulky. Now I want you to look at this right here. See how I'm like right up against this little fold over? So yeah, if I need to use this expanded area here, this could cause a problem right there. So I need to cut part of that off. Okay? So what I'm going to do is, and you can use your, straight edge if you want to, or you can just use a pair of scissors. And I'm going to cut right there. And I'm talking just like maybe an 1/8 of an inch, and then just kind of cut that off. And I'm not going to worry about this edge because I'm not going to worry about it right now. Put it that way. Yeah, that's good enough. Now see, that gives me a little space between the spine seam and this fold over, so that hopefully it won't cause any problems if it gets bulky. So I'm going to do that over here. Cut a little bit right along there, and then cut off about however much I feel like might be a goodly amount. Okay, so I'm going to go through and I'm going to do that to each seam, even these ones with the little slots that I may or may not use, but I'm going to do it on everything just to make a little wider gap there to allow for bulky fold over. Now all my little spines are expanded, and I trimmed my tabs so they wouldn't interfere with the folding. And I might have to make adjustments as I go, but that's fine. At least I've got a good starting point. And I just kind of went and made sure that everything was rolling up easily. When I got to here, I had put about an 1/8 of an inch on either side of the existing crease. I did that on each one, and that was fine until I got right here, and then it was still kind of tight folding it up, because I already have all this bulk and I haven't even added anything to the book. So that told me, okay, I need to come out some more. So I came out about another 1/8 of an inch on this edge. This edge was fine. But on this edge, I came further this way so that this could fold nicely. And like I said, I might have to come this way a little bit more as I add bulk here. So I'm just keeping that in mind, that I'm, might have to make an adjustment just depending on what I add. And then, of course, on this direction it was fine, but I had to come out way far here just to get my little tab to close. And I have a feeling I'm probably going to have to come out even further. So I will definitely be extending this flap just like I did on the other one. But yeah, that's all there is to it. Once you get the hang of, just scoring and expanding your spine and cutting, trimming any tabs that might get in the way, once you know how to do that, then you're good. Then you can make adjustments as you go. It's a little easier when you start, but like I said, you just have to be willing to go with the flow. So the next thing I did was I pulled a piece of lace trim. I don't even know if this is what I'm going to use in the end, but it was a good thing to practice with because it fits perfectly in my little slots. And I just kind of weave this in through the slots in different configurations and then close my book just to figure out how I wanted my closure. And what I decided on is coming through this slot here. Just going to gently poke that through. And then this one right here. I'm just going to ignore that one because I don't think I'm going to use it. So this is what I'm thinking about for my closure. And how that works is, all this will fold up like that, like that, like that. And then I'll have these coming out like that so that they can be tied or wrapped or whatever. Okay, glue. Use, okay, the kind of glue you use may depend on the kind of paper that you're going to cover your thing with. So I've got some, I'm going to go ahead and use my, some more of my eco prints because I've got a lot of them. These are from several eco printing sessions over the years that I've been hoarding. So I'm going to use some of this paper. So my book's going to be really neutral like my other one was. And these papers range from like just computer paper to more of a cardstock. So they're not like tissue paper, thin weight. They're a little bit heavier, so I need a little heavier glue. Heavy paper, heavy glue, right? So I'm probably going to use this, okay, let me show you for real what I've used. I gotta find, it was this Helmar Craft and Hobby PVA glue. And it was several years old, so it had gotten a little bit thick. It's probably about the consistency of tacky glue, like, you know, Aleene's tacky glue. And the nozzle on it was like this. And of course nothing was coming out, so I took it apart and tried to, you know, clean out the nozzle, and it just wasn't happening. It was still, something's dried and glued up inside there, and I could not get this off. This is glued on really, really strong. So I just cut off the whole nozzle thing and then just emptied this into a another jar. So that's what's in here. And then I added a little bit of water to thin it out. But my end result is going to be kind of like tacky glue. So yeah, you can use something like that, a Mod Podge or like an Elmer's or gel medium. You know, if you're using thicker papers, I would lean more toward a tacky glue or a gel medium because they're gonna hold your papers down better. So that's the glue that I'm going to use. And then right here for this little piece of lace or this trim, I've got some of this clear gel tacky glue, and I'm trying to use this up because I bought a new one. They didn't have the squeezy thing anymore, but I got this at the Walmarts, and it, you know, it was like $5. It was a good price. So I need to use this one up. So I'm just gonna squeeze some out right here just to basically hold this down. This is going to get a lot more glue on it as we go and put papers down. But now I'm just going to do kind of like I did my other one. I'm just going to go through and pick out some papers that I think I want to cover my different panels with, and then decide, you know, if I want pockets or fold outs or flaps or tabs or whatever. This one may have to be trimmed to get it to, well, maybe not. Maybe go further, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, that is my next step. And before I glue anything down, I'm going to fix my, I will fix my edges because, you know, I trimmed these, so and they were rounded, and then now they're kind of not quite so rounded. So yeah, before I glue anything on them, I will fix them, either square them off, or I'll use my little rounder thing to make sure that they're rounded evenly. At least this one and this one. This I'm going to leave alone because I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. So I'm not going to worry about how it looks. Okay, here's another thing I learned on this one. I know. I did this like 2 or 3 different ways, and then I was frustrated with myself every time. Okay, your spines, your seams here. You want them kind of reinforced, but not too stiff. And I don't want to paper over the whole thing. This is what I learned here. Because see, if you look on this one, these, even though some of the papers are similar, they're 3 different pieces or 4 different pieces. We won't count these flaps. We'll just count the insides here. So I cut a piece to fit here, and then another one to fit here. and another one to fit here, and glued them down. And you can see that, you know, I did leave space because I didn't want to have that bulk and that weird, when you put one piece of paper down and then you fold it, we can have some weirdness happening. And what happened on the back is I thought, oh, I'm just going to use one piece of paper. I'm just going to run that, you know, one piece of paper across here and then call it done, and which was fine, but I glued it down flat. And I know better. And I don't know why. I wasn't even thinking. But yeah, I just went and then glued it down and then let it dry. And then as soon as I folded it over, it cracked. Because, you know, that's what it's going to do. You either have to be okay with the cracks. You can glue it down flat, knowing that it's going to crack when you fold it. Or you can glue it down folded, let it dry like this, knowing that it's going to wrinkle when you open it. That's it. It's just kind of what it is. If it's paper, if you're covering with fabric, you know, it has enough give that it's kind of okay either way. But paper, you're either going to have a little, you know, a little ridge right there when you open it out, or you're going to have a crack when you fold it. And, you know, I had the crack when I folded it, and it was significant enough that it bothered me. So that's what these strips of fabric are about. So yeah, it's just covering my crack. I'm losing all of my sheets. Okay. Alrighty. So, you know, then I thought, all right, I should have just cut these into panels, glued them down just like I did this one. And I didn't want the plain cardboard showing through, so even before I glued these down, I kind of treated my seams. I put some washi tape in there, and it was just too blaring, so I just went over it with some acrylic paint. And I'm wondering now on this one, should I do the washi tape or just acrylic paint? The washi tape did kind of add some strength, and especially with these, it's almost like they're perforated, you know. That could get really, really weak really fast. Washi tape. Okay, I've decided. I'm going to go ahead and put some tape down. Here's where we are. I've got, let's see, I went in with my washi tape, and, you know, I was just going to kind of reinforce these folds that were kind of weak, and also give a little something interesting to peek through between my panels. And I decided I really liked the way these looked and the way they peeked through, so I just made them more of a design element rather than reinforcement. So yeah, I just kind of purposefully made it to where my pages I'm gluing down are smaller than the pieces of cardboard, so that this washi tape can show through kind of all the way around. I just decided I like that. So it's kind of dual purpose. It does kind of, you know, keep these from wanting to fall off, and it's cute. So here's what I want to do. I want to put a little thing, you know, right here, and then this will close like this, and then I'll have a string here, and it'll go, you know, like those old-fashioned envelopes. And I know there's not much space between here and here, so it's really totally unnecessary, but I like it, so don't judge. So I'm going to play with that a little bit more, figure it out, glue some more eco prints onto my naked places here. And I wanted to show you how I did this, or what happened when I was doing this. You know, okay, so I put the washi tape reinforcement on it, and then I come over here, and then I cut this, you know, cut off the excess, and then I just stuck this to the back of my hand because it's there. You know, whoops, like that. And then I'll go in and I'll put another piece here, because I want it on both sides, trim it off, and then when I got through, I had this like blob of washi tape just stuck to my wrist like that, and I pulled it off to throw it away, and then I went, oh wait, Look how cool that is. I'm going to stick that on something, like maybe on a tag or something. That's just kind of accidental awesomeness right there. There's just a couple more things I wanted to talk to you about before I finish this up. And, okay, here's where we are. I don't remember where I left off. I think it was here. Okay, I used the little eyelet, attached my little suede text thingy right down here, and I'm gonna put another eyelet here to put some string around. I made my flaps, and there's a reason why I did it like this, because I could have, you know, just put this here and then taken another piece of paper to put over this whole thing so that this little piece wouldn't show. But this piece of cardstock that was eco-printed, I like the front and back. I didn't want to cover the back, so I'm not going to do that. So anyway, I thought I would show you this. I've got my kind of sort of where I made a line where the eyelet right here needs to go, and I'm just going to kind of eyeball it to see how far up to put it. I mean, I want it far enough up where it's not going to fall or not going to pull through. I think that's good enough right there. And then I'll use my hole puncher thing to poke a hole. Where am I? There I am. Okay. And then I've got my eyelet right here to put there. And you can set your eyelet by whatever means necessary. If you struggle with setting eyelets correctly and need a little guidance on that, I cannot help you. I am the most awkward ever when it comes to setting these things. And you see, I have the proper tools. This has the whole, you know, eyelet setter thing on it. I can't get it to work. You know, I never can remember which one I'm supposed to use, and apparently it's always the wrong one because I cannot get it to work. I have a couple of different eyelet setting tools. None of them work for me. So my fancy solution to that is like my jewelry making. This is a stainless steel block because I need something hard, and on that something hard I put my something soft. And you can see all the little eyelet marks on it? Yeah. This has been its sole purpose for decades, y'all. Decades. So I put it here. And then I get the most old-fashioned eyelet setting tools, you know, and sometimes I have to use 3 different tools to get it to set right because I don't understand how any of those work. I never have. But this is the one that usually works for the little eyelets. So I just put this on top of here, this on top of here, this on top of here, and then I get my little hammer and I go toot toot toot. And then, oh yeah, see, it's starting to like spread out like it's supposed to. And then I take this one, which looks kind of like that. I'm not exactly sure what its purpose is, but then I just do that and it flattens it out. So yeah, I mean, it's not perfect, but it's in there. It gets set. It's good enough. I'm so awkward with eyelets. So that's my whole embarrassing process for getting that done. Grommets. Big grommet. Oh, I can do grommets all day long. I set a beautiful grommet. Of course, my tools look pretty much exactly like this, only they're bigger. But okay, now you know. So there's my little eyelet right there. And I always have to remember, or to try to remind myself, that I need to finish my edges before I glue things down. So yeah, before anything gets like permanently attached, I want to finish my edges, and I'm just like grabbing a distress ink pad and then a sponge that has every single color of distress ink on it, so I never quite know what I'm gonna get when I, you know, start doing this. But that's okay, because it's distressed and I don't care. That's what we're doing. And I went to my scrap. Anytime I have like a leftover piece of string or a little strip of fabric or ribbon or lace, it goes in this that I love. It's one of those, you know, like sits on the candy counter. And I got it at a thrift store years ago. I think I paid like next to nothing for it. And then they got really popular, and now you can buy even the plastic ones. Ooh, ooh, dusty. Okay, pretend like you don't see that. But yeah, this is where I keep my scraps. And then I just kind of fish around in here and hope that the right thing comes out. And fortunately it did, because it was in a little Ziploc baggie in there. Otherwise, I would have never found it. But yeah, oh, that's not it. It's this one. This piece of, it's really skinny string, skinny but strong string, I guess. And this is what I want. I like this. So I'm just gonna knot this here. Let's do a surgeon's knot, which is like a granny knot or like a square knot, but with one extra loop. So you just do this, and then you do it one more time, like that. Oops. And then you just complete the knot. And that extra loop is supposed to, or the extra time around is supposed to give it extra strength. I don't know. I don't know if it does, y'all. I'm just telling you what the internet said. Okay. So, got my string. I'm going to cut this little tail off, and then I'll probably put a dab of glue on it when I get everything done, so that I make sure it doesn't come untied. And then this will go around here like this. And how much should I leave off? Like that. I'm such a mess. Stuff is falling off everywhere, sliding off the edge of my desk. Okay, there's where we are with that. And then a couple more things that I wanted to show you are how I've been gluing the papers down to get them pretty smooth, because, you know, I'm using really wet glue, and yeah, your papers can buckle really easily. And I'm going to use my kinda sorta tacky glue. And I kind of go over my washi tape too, you know, just to make sure that it remembers that it's supposed to stay all, you know, stuck down firmly. Sometimes you have to remind washi tape. It forgets its job. Okay. Just kind of eyeballing it. I think that's probably going to be okay. Yep. And then glue those edges down good. Now I hit it with the heat gun. This paper was kind of wrinkly to begin with, so it's got a little wrinkling going on. I really don't mind. But we can smooth some of them out. Can you see the wrinklies? Okay, once this gets kind of dry to the touch, it's not completely dry, but it's not sticky. Then I just use a piece of wax paper and my bone folder. And I just work out whatever major wrinkles might be there. And I push my corners down. You want to make sure you don't have a lot of other ickiness on your wax paper, because I don't know how many times I have glued my wax paper to my little project here. Ooh, Jason's home. He's going to make some noise here in a minute. But now, if you can see, the majority of our big wrinkles that were there are gone. It's nice and smooth. So that's a good little trick for gluing papers down really smooth and not getting a lot of wrinkles in them. I've got all my little panels covered except this one. This is the last little thing I need to do. I glued on a piece of cardstock that was printed, and with the printed part to the inside, and I just, can you see how I glued it? See, this is where the flap ended, and I just kind of, this is to extend the end, and you see that semicircle that I drew right there? I can't even see it. Maybe you can. Who knows? There is one there. And all I did was I took this big roll of tape, lined it up with the edges of my existing old flap, and then traced around it onto the new flap. So now I'm just going to cut around that. Okay. And there's our useless little flap. And we are done. I am going to go in and continue to, put a little distress ink around all my little edges. And so they look, finished off. But here's what we have. I've got just sort of an insert like that, and I kind of like that. It's, and this is going to end up on Etsy, so the person who gets it might want to turn it into a tag or put something on it. I don't know, it's open-ended, so they might be journaling cards, I guess, if you wanted to go that route, or just little I don't know what. But I've got 3 of the little I don't know whats that go here, like that, and I'll put this here, like that, and flaps close, and then I fold this. I did round these corners, and let's just fold it, and see, now my flap comes over further than it did, so it looks nice. And then we can tie it off. I'm thinking that I might want to put a couple paper beads on the end of this this thing, Yeah, I think I probably will. Probably put paper beads on there and finish my edges off. And there is our lovely little book thing made out of a coffee pod box. So, simple, y'all. That's it. Thank you for watching. The end.